Hi guys, Mr. Jaeger here, and welcome back to Invictus Launch Week. Today is, drumroll please, hurry the fuck up, it's holographic sign, Anvil Day! Yes, Anvil Day. I have another costume, found my old one. Yes, Anvil, the good guys. Yes, we're here. So today is Anvil Day, the day of wondrous, awesome-looking ships, and my personal favorite over the Aegis guys. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Aegis guys look cool. Don't get me wrong, they do look cool. But there's just something about those guys that I think these guys look pretty nifty, as we can see, with a whole host of things, and the lag once again returns. Ooh, yes. So no, Anvil is the current military provider for all things UEE naval vessel construct-wise. So these are the guys who are, well, I wouldn't exactly say the good guys, but they are the better than previous grouping guys. So we'll be having a look around the little area here. We actually don't have as many rooms in this one. It's actually just the main room and the side room, and that's about it, to be fair. I was a little surprised for that, but we do have a whole bunch of cool things, one of which I own now. Ooh, I have one. It's cool. Anyway, so without further ado, let us begin this day of Anvil with all of its wonderful ships in tow. So we begin our journey in Anvil Day with the Arrow, which in my opinion is definitely the angry Hornet, of whom the bite is just as painful as the bark. This thing, while I will admit I've not seen a huge amount of information on like what the current meta, if you will, is going since the new flight modes come through, but I can tell you that this ship has definitely made its mark known in both the PvE and the PvP community. I've seen a couple of pilots use these things, and to very much great effect, resulting in utter devastation upon its opponents. Aesthetically wise, it's a very beautiful looking ship, being very nimble and being very effective in getting into the enemy flanks and absolutely devastating them. To illustrate what this effect has for the Anvil Arrow, I'll give you a little story about what happened when the Banu Merchantman. What's the Banu Merchantman? Yes, the Banu Merchantman was released, because that's a true story. No, when the Banu Defender, the first of Banu's ship to be entered into the game, came out with its hit scan weapons. Now, for those who don't know, hit scans are basically where a weapon that, instead of a projectile like every other weapon that is utilized by ships in this game is, a hit scan weapon is simply you look at your target, you press the mouse button, and the target is hit, and a certain amount of damage is inflicted, all that jazz. You know, no travel time, no lag pips, no having to prepare an aim or anything. You just target the ship in question, and you can keep hitting him so long as you're still targeting him. Now, when the the Banu Defender, I'm so desperate to have the Merchantman. When the Banu Defender came out with these very potent weapons, a fair amount of players saw their potential, bought the Defenders, but took the guns off and put them onto various combat ships, the Arrow included. But I felt that the Arrow was the most dangerous because this was the most nimble, the fastest of the little ships, and it was extremely difficult to be hit if you had a good pilot behind it. I never saw a hotfix come out faster than when CIG realized the potential of what this thing could do. It was ridiculous. It's devastating. And to be fair, I think I've seen a bit of a loadout change since the new, since the new patch has come out, because it used to have, if you go by what the Star Citizen tools are, it says it had like 2 size 3 and like 8 size 2 missiles. But I can see on the wingtips, and for some reason, it's different to how it looks in the other ones. Again, I'm not entirely sure why it looks like that, what's happened, but it's got 2 size 2s with 1 size 2 at the top, and it's got 2 size 2 with another size 2 on the other side. But the thing is, they're different types as well, which is kind of weird. And of course, we have what looks to be size 2 laser repeaters with a couple of size 1 yellow jackets in tow. But the thing is, since the new yellow jackets / new ballistic elements and everything else, that looks cool. I like that. That's a kind of cool top. Looks a bit small for you, but, you know, okay. But anyway, so this particular vehicle is now armed pretty well for its size, and considering the new combat modes is going to make it very intriguing once we get some dedicated pilots out there who know the real thing, who are good at this, to be able to see whether or not this thing is going to see some major action. Either way, I'm looking forward to seeing what future holds for this ship, but I myself don't think I'm ever going to fly it in combat or anything else like that. You will find hard flyers are also probably going to have a bit of a whale of the time with this thing, though I wonder, since the new master modes have come in, how hard flying is going to be, because it's going to be a lot harder now, or at least, well, low flying I should say, but still. Very much curious as to, oh, she's upset. She must not be able to, she must realize just how expensive some of this stuff is. I feel you, love. We've all been there. Unfortunately, it's a very common symptom of the I've just realized how much money I've got in my hangar twitch, and players have just realized how much they've sunk into this game. We've all had those moments before, men. I can only sympathize with you. Yes, I appreciate you're very nervous as well. Your wallets may be crying, and you may finally realize why they are crying, but don't you worry. There'll be another ship for you soon. Yes, we are on the other side of the hall, this time looking at the Pisces, the C8X, which stands for the Expedition variant of the Pisces, because there's two versions. One which is kind of a shit version, and that basically is the one with less guns, doesn't have a quantum drive, and is pretty much dedicated to only being on the Carrack. Whereas this version, the C8X or Expedition, is the independent little gem that, in my opinion, is my favorite little shuttle in Star Citizen. This thing is adorable and also has definitely packs a punch. As you can see, two size 1 laser repeaters on the front with a Kronegg fucking weapon on the sides, which is pretty impressive. But, I mean, yes, they're all size 1s, and you only have a couple of size 1 missiles to boot. But still, that is a pretty nice bit of kit, especially for someone who may be getting into Star Citizen and doesn't really know what's going on. I'm not gonna lie, if I was playing Star Citizen for the first time and someone offered me this as a starter ship, or starting ship, I should say, I would so definitely go for it. But then again, the Drake Cutter, but that's besides the point. This little ship is adorable. It's also quite practical. You've got 4 SCUs worth of cargo, 2 additional passenger seats, and if we hop into the pilot seat, we're actually presented with a pretty decent view, especially since, bearing in mind, this thing has a, again, relatively decent quantum drive. It's not huge, but it definitely does the job. And in terms of views, yeah. Oh, that's a brilliant name, Fuzzlord. I commend you, sir, for your creativity. That is fucking amazing. So this particular ship is designed as a shuttle, giving players the ability to get themselves from space to Atmo to ground, and vice versa. And considering the fact that in the future this may become more of a standard thing to do when traversing the stars, it's really handy to have a ship that is not only capable of just doing that, but also fulfilling other roles, is a really nice option. Now, I'll reiterate, though, that this is a very good starting ship, not a best starter ship. That honor still lies in regards to the beautiful Avenger Titan. However, if you're new to Star Citizen and you're looking to get into a ship that's a little bit better than the Aurora and the Mustang, while this ship doesn't have a bed, which, to be brutally honest with you, you don't need one in the early stages of Star Citizen, then I would very much recommend you have a look at this ship, because it definitely packs a punch, and you'd be surprised how many people can run away from this thing, including a Gladius. Yeah, I'll regale with you with that little tale. During the PvP event, where if you killed, I think, about 15 people or something like that, like IRL, like PvP style, yes, go around and murder someone in real life. That's how it works. No, go in game. You had to get a certain number of PvP kills, and you would earn a Vandal head mask, like like a mask, like full on. You looking like a Vandal. And for some reason, some jackass thought it would be a great idea to go shoot 2 random people on an ROC run on Daymar. That, however, was not really how the plan turned out, as one of the friends of mine, got very pissed off and got into his Pisces because he was chilling out on the Carrack at the time, and he actually scared the damn Gladius off. It was brilliant. I fucking loved it. It was such a hilarious sight to see a goddamn Gladius yeet off in a random direction with a Pisces chasing after him. It was glorious. So yeah, ever since then, this little ship has had a special place in my heart, because it just can do. Speaking of special place in my heart, this is rather well segued into by the Pisces Rescue. The Pisces Rescue, which was introduced in Invictus launch week last year, is the medical variant of the ship, and currently, temporarily or not, the ship and its cousins, the Drake Interplanetary Cutlass Red and the Ursa Medevac, have the capacity to not only heal Tier 3 injuries, but also revive players who have gone down dead. Rather than just sort of maybe, I don't know, someone gets killed or someone gets incapped and then you can do whatever, if you go dead and you get completely schmuffed, you will wake up in this ship because you can actually set your spawn to it, which is remarkable. So this actually does prove to make these ships far more viable if you're trying to do anything in terms of PvP or if you're doing anything in terms of PvE and your shit. Either way, it's a really good idea, and I think it's a great way of incentivizing players to get into these things, because you can get these ships in-game, and while you don't get as much cargo capacity, in fact I don't think you can get any cargo capacity, you do get the ability to stay people alive, or keep people alive, which I think is a pretty nifty bonus, considering how much now it's getting a lot harder to earn money in-game, and I'm not going to lie, I actually like that. So, the Pisces, a really good, solid, reliable shuttle that adds that extra bit of, well, can be a great way to start your time in Star Citizen, whilst also providing that niche, important assistance during your time playing Star Citizen. So, we approach the big boy in the room, and normally I would hop around talking a lot about this particular ship. However, I feel like to save on time, because this ship is very big, and we would take a little bit too long time, I'm going to make the decision to not enter this ship for this particular run. However, we'll act as a bit of a tease, this is where having the ship this is where going to the IAE will be so crucial, because I will be walking around during the IAE 2954. So I will, however, talk about this ship in a pretty reasonable amount of detail, because obviously it's kind of what we need to do. So the Carrack is a expedition ship, and probably is the poster child of all things big in Anvil story-wise. And in my opinion, the Carrack is one of the sort of milestone ships that a lot of players, and to be fair, this was one of the big hype ships that I personally found to be quite, intriguing, because a lot of players were losing their mind off the scale of this thing. Like, I remember when this thing first came out, all the way back in 2020, and it was fucking mental. The scale, the size, it was just, it was so cool. And to be fair, even now, Christ, it feels, oh God, I just remembered how it felt. The realization of how old this thing is, and I remember it when it was coming out new. Christ. Anyway, when I saw this ship for the first time, I was stunned at the sheer scale of it. And the fact that this particular ship, even now, after many years of its release, still has a couple of tricks up its sleeve, which once we get going on it, it's going to prove to be a very, very useful ship. Now, what exactly makes this ship so special? Well, what makes this ship so special is the fact that it's basically a self-sustaining expedition ship, hence the name. But the main thing is that it has a hangar at the top, and I will open this up for the sake of my own sanity, because it has also a little tiny, well, I say tiny, it's also got its own little, but wait, hang on, okay, good. I was about to say, if the bloody thing decided that it wanted to cut through the lights, that would be hilarious. But no, so this particular ship has its own little hangar bay, which allows you to get both ground Vics and additional bits of cargo in there, though its main source of cargo are these pods. Now, at the moment, they aren't detachable, but eventually the plan is with these particular pods is that they will be detachable, and players will be able to traverse. also be able to drop over a number of objects. So theoretically speaking, you could have the materials and the facilities to be able to make a small outpost, a small base, to establish a location within the realms of this ship, or have some ground vehicles or anything else like that. You know, really cool shit. In addition to having its own self-sustaining, compartments with the Pisces hangar at the top, the Ursa rover hangar in the middle, it also has the ability to deploy 2 drones, giving it that extra utility and versatility out in the field. And it does not have, in fact, and it also has the means to defend itself, because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 turrets, admittedly all on the stern section of the ship. But they are pretty fucking hench. All of these being size 5 with Rhino repeaters. Very, very powerful turrets, giving this thing a major edge against its competitors when it comes to trying to avoid damage. It also is a pretty chunky dude in the first place, which has the ability to do some extremely powerful damage towards enemy foes. And fun story, I once used one of these things to chop or bite a hammerhead in half. It was fucking glorious, and I honestly wish I'd recorded it when I did, because it was just such a... it was a good moment. It was a good moment. But anyway, this ship is massive, and I look forward to exploring it in the Invictus, in the IAE 2954. But because of the amount of time it would take for me to explore this brief excerpt is all we're going to be giving you for today. Apologies if you... do let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section down below. I appreciate that some of you may be super curious about those things, but at the same time, these videos do take a while to record, and I know this fucker will take a while. Like, this will take me 10-20 minutes at least to get through. So I hope that the time saved here will be beneficial elsewhere. We approach this tiny little reserved corner, which I kind of feel is a bit of a shame, because we have in front of us what I'm very much quickly being reminded is one of the sexier ships to come out of Anvil, and also from a bit of an embarrassing story from the UEE's perspective. This is the Gladiator, a fighter bomber with an emphasis on missiles, but not just missiles. This thing is has the potential to be extremely lethal, and has one more particular weapon than the Vanguard Harbinger could bring, which I think is hilarious. So what exactly is this thing? Well, she's a torpedo bomber, straight and through. Missiles, laser repeater size 2s with 2 size 2s on the top, but the big thing which we're about to witness is underneath. Also, she's one of these older designs which you could love, like the ability to go straight up into the top here, which I think is really cool. But the main reason why we like this ship is because of these babies. That's right, size 5 torpedoes, 4 of them, and all angrily looking for a target. This thing is awesome because it has the ability to maneuver around and slap around whilst also being very, very cool doing it. I mean, come on, it's fucking beautiful. I know some people probably will go, Mr. Jaeger, you are wrong. It's very ugly, and I think you're mad as a result. But this thing just oozes out quality, and in my opinion, it just... I love this design. It looks so fucking sexy with all of its with all the angular elements towards it, and this giant fucking torpedoes underslung. And it kind of reminds me of it's like a combination of a Dauntless dive bomber from World War II, which I believe is what part of this design was based on, and also the Corsair as well, which I fucking love. It looks so cool. Definitely cool as a ship goes. And to give her the brief story around the Anvil Gladiator, to my knowledge, is a little bit of a funny story. Basically, one of these weapon manufacturer guys, he basically comes up and he says to the UEE, hey, check it, I've got a torpedo which is so much better than all the current stuff we have. It's undetectable, it's extremely powerful, and it's also cheap. It's going to be super good, natural upgrade to all of your choices. And the UEE is like, oh shit, this is pretty good. We should get invested with this stuff. And Well, it turns out that the guy wasn't exactly being as truthful as he previously was acting, because when they finally got to the whole point of releasing these torpedo thingies, it turned out that it was just a slightly more, snazzier than bog standard torpedo with a slight capability to do something, but not really anything that was being advertised. And the AUEC was a little bit embarrassed. So they decided to come up and utilize a fighter design, which, by the way, this particular ship was designed to work with these amazing vehicles, and these torpedoes are really good, and this unique torpedo launcher which can use the new powerful torpedo. Yes, this is going to be a massive benefit to the fleets. It's going to totally be worth all the money we sunk into it. Yet that was a waste. So unfortunately, this ship had started out life being a result of a very monumental cock-up by the UEE in terms of fact-finding and fact-checking. However, she turned out to actually perform pretty well in service, even when the UEE was like, no, seriously, it's a good ship. We're actually trying to make this work now. And as such, she's been able to perform quite well in her role, and I personally find her to be a rather beautiful vessel at that. Definitely going on my list of ships I'm going to try and rebuy. Not with IRL, but probably in-game. Because this is available in-game, and I'd very much recommend anyone who wants to have the ability to spam torpedoes and have a really nice-looking capability to very seriously put some thought into this. What would make this ship better is if they could allow you to slave the turret on the top to the front pilot seat. I don't mind if you can't turn it and it's all fixed, and the disadvantages of a fixed weapon over the gimbaled stuff. I just want the extra firepower. CIG, pretty please, can we slave the turrets, if there's no co-pilot in, to the main pilot's gun? Please! This ship is gorgeous and I want to use it more in combat. Please! I love you. So, we now arrive at the Terrapin, a very, very nice looking and sadly underutilized vessel, which, I mean, to be fair, I think some players are utilizing it now, but definitely a ship which doesn't quite have its role filled out yet in Star Citizen. This is a scout vessel, or long-distance reconnaissance vessel, with the capacity to withstand a fair degree of punishment. The purpose of this ship is quite simply to get to a zone, scan and identify various targets, then, when it is inevitably detected, somehow get itself out of the shit sack and into peace and stability, all the while not dying as a result. It's got a crew complement of 2, but to be fair, I've seen a few players utilize this thing as a form of transport, even with all the new inertial problems where you fly around in the ship if you're not careful or sitting down. But I think it's a pretty good ship, and I look forward to seeing what this thing can do, especially considering that when we start seeing the sectors like Pyro, or when player bases become a thing, we may start to see some real sort of need for reconnaissance, a necessity to gather information and then send it to the nearest front line, or for players to report back to HQ. Either way, I think the Terrapin is an undervalued but very, very strong potential to be incredible. And also, it looks really, really good. I love this kind of utility design. It's bulky, it's blocky, it's very angled, there's no roundedness to it. It's there, it's designed for one purpose, and it doesn't need to look good doing it. This is how you do utility. Unlike Drake Interplanetary, who does it with duct tape and all the prayers that everyone, all the God Emperor can provide. Moving to a ship that, at this moment, is definitely a lethal combination, but I feel it's going to be even more so later on, is the Anvil Hawk. This is a dedicated bounty hunting platform. Now, at the moment, this ship is just it's just a glorified fighter with additional sets of weapons to neutralize enemy shields. It also has the ability to provide a minor EMP generation field, which will further fuck over its opponents. And I think you can get in the hatch that way. Yep, there it is. Which we open up and we hop inside. And we then hop to the top. But in terms of a view, this thing has a pretty decent... I would say it's pretty decent in its view. And it also has a very nice MFD. I think they've done a bit of a spruce up on the internals since I last saw it, because it was actually really fucking nice in here. Seriously. It is really fucking nice in here. I love I like the displays. They look really, really nice. I definitely feel that's good. Pretty nice. So as you can see, we have a pretty decent amount of weaponry in here. Mostly to do with the little badges and the small things. So you're not really going to be killing shit very effectively, but the purpose of this ship is not to just kill. It's to take prisoners. It is a bounty hunting vessel after all. And one of the things that you can see here, the Tromag burns, which very sensibly they've decided to neutralize for the event, it has an EMP generation field, as mentioned. So this thing is designed primarily to find its target, neutralize its shields, and then accept prisoners. Because when the prisoner surrenders and says, I'm done, I'm giving up, you have what's known as the poop scoop. That's what I'm calling it. And the poop scoop allows players who are captured, or NPCs who are captured, to be willingly accepted as cargo. But that is different from before. That is new. Have I just discovered something? That was not there before. Previously, you could sit in this thing, and then you could basically hop in the back with that. But they've updated it. They fucking updated it. This could be something different. This is very intriguing. Because normally what would happen is it's basically a seat which the player would get into. And then you would, when you want to retract this thing, which is what we'll do here, we'll close this, the player, or the target, would get inside, and they'd basically be sat back into this thing, and there you go. Now, I'm wondering if that's something that's new. Oh, that's fucking cool. Wait, why is that two why is there two opens? That's cool. Yeah, that's a grip point. That's something that you would attach a box to, which makes me wonder if that's what's going to happen, where you attach a box to something, player gets put inside. Ooh. Okay, CIG, I'm very intrigued. That's a new thing. That's a really cool new thing. But yes, the purpose of this ship is, as said, not to kill, but to capture. And I think this ship looks extremely nice, because, well, fuck it, it's a hawk. It looks beautiful. Though I would actually call it the crow. Hawk is cool and all, but I feel that looks more like a crow than a hawk, but that's just me. But either way, the Anvil crow is one of those ships that definitely is worth keeping an eye out for, especially if Star Citizen starts really looking into upgrading and updating the bounty hunter mechanics to now include capturing someone rather than just killing them, because then you will start to see a whole host of new possibilities for bounty hunters to claim their prize. We are now in the next room, which is of course surrounded by quite a lot of very beautiful ships. But I wanted to talk about this one first of all, because this one is showcasing the heritage of Anvil, whilst also showcasing the future in some of its design philosophies. Now, this is one of the famous ships to come out in Star Citizen, which is known as the Mark I Hornet. This particular ship was a dedicated fighter platform, which has the capacity to do quite a bit, and was also famous for being part of the AUEC's military force for centuries. This thing, in terms of lore in Star Citizen, but also in terms of Star Citizen in terms of IRL game lore, has quite a strong pedigree. In fact, this was the original X-Wing. Some of the players who used to play this game before the actual X-Wing was introduced. But this thing is beautiful. Well, I'd say it's beautiful for its time. Like, when this thing first came out, this was when Star Citizen was recently being announced. Like, this is 2012 design, and what people were thinking of was of what a spaceship could really be like for combat stuff. Now, this isn't the only edition of the Hornet that you will be able to get. Oh boy, invisible ladder time. Just hop in. Here we go. Oh, looks like they've updated this the interior. But as you can see, if this thing wants to work. There we go. So as you can see, they've definitely spruced up the interior of the vessel. and it does look really good. And again, this is where they get the whole, it's the X-Wing, because of the whole display and everything else. And I think there was some inspiration done from the X-Wing, because it certainly does look like, the interior definitely fucking looks like it's from the X-Wing. But in terms of its, its uses and whatnot, it being the F-7C Hornet doesn't really have huge amounts of potential, because obviously it's a civilian variant of the ship. It still is a very nice looking ship, and I think it's, considering the historical pedigree of this vessel, I think it's only fair to say that for its time it did incredibly well, and it was the backbone of many years loyal service to the UEE's Navy, and definitely should be respected as such. But then, like with all good Mark 1s, there needs to be a Mark 2, which is one of the more recent ships that has come out earlier this year. And I introduced to you the Mark 2 of the Hornet series, the F7, the F7C Mark II. Now, you can tell immediately there's some absolutely incredible design choices being made here. We've reduced the size of the intake air valves. We've sort of swept back the wings. We've squeezed out the fat, and she's now far sexier, but also more lethal as a result. If the game would like to stop lagging for a few seconds as well, that would be appreciated. There we go. So this wondrous ship with size 4 Revenant Gatlings, because, of fucking course there needs to be size 4 Revenant Gatlings, also has an additional set of missiles as well. And to be fair, I should have gone into a little detail with the weapons on the Mark I. Mark I having size 3 laser repeaters with a couple of missiles on the side. But the platform does have the capacity to have turrets and other systems mounted, which gives that extra layer of customization. The Mark IIC has, in terms of weapons and capabilities, as I said, you've got 2 size 4 Revenant repeaters. You've got 8 size 1 marksman missiles. Now, bearing in mind this is the civilian version of the ship, it's not designed to be dangerous and lethal and whatnot. In fact, in the center of the ship, there is a cargo pod thing, which allows you to plop a box on the top or carry important cargo, which, if you're a pilot who just wants to fly around doing his own thing, is a pretty cool option for you to do so. And I think it definitely has that sense of, I'm not lethal, but I can still slap you really hard if you're not careful. Which, as vessels go, it's pretty good, and it's very, very nice in terms of its aesthetics as a result. Hi. So about that whole not being lethal thing. Well, this is the more lethal thing. Oh, fun fact. You can actually do the same thing and mount up a weapons mount, because you can see there's a mountain point here. You can mount a weapon as well on this particular vessel. This thing comes with that as standard, but not just a little bit deadlier, because this thing is the military edition of the ship, the current serving F7 Mark IIC, or the F7 Mark IIA. Oh baby, she is fucking sexy, and I own one, and I worked for it, and it is amazing. Oh, it's so good. It's maneuverable. It's fast. It can fucking lethally destroy things. Its Revenant Gatlings now finally have power, which means Apocalypse arms actually are apocalyptic. It's got fucking amazing. It's got 8 size 2 missiles, 2 size 4 rapid repeating. It's got fucking 2 size 3 Omniski guns on the motherfucking top. It's got 2 size 1. Wait, no, are they size 1 or size 2? They've got fucking size 2. Fuck. It's 2 size 3 Omniski guns at the front and 2 size 3 Omniski guns at the bottom. I love this ship. I'm gushing over it because it's just so fucking awesome. And I earned it. I fucking earned it. I bought the F7C because I was instantly falling in love. And then when they said, by the way, if you work for this during the Overdrive event for Xenothreat, you get this. You get the upgrade. And I'm like, I must do this. So yes, I am gushing over this particular ship, and it is beautiful. It is the military variant of the ship, the current serving military edition of the F7, the F7 what? The Mark what? The fucking hell, the F7A Mark II, and it is a glorious looking vessel. And if we hop inside, you will see just how nice it is, and how much I am very much never going to get rid of it in my bloody pledges. No, no, sir, I am most definitely not getting rid of those things. So immediately you can see where the refinements have gone into. Rather than having a big open spruced up environment, you've instead got this relatively compact but really efficiently well made and very efficiently designed and logically compacted interior, which, yes, it does mean that you lose a couple of MFDs, which is a slight downside, but I'm sorry, fucking 2 size 3 Omniski guns, it's you know, I just love it. It's dangerous, deadly, and amazing, and I love it. And the new flight mechanics and everything else just means I want to test this out in combat. It's very, very cool. But still, this is a very, very good ship, and I look forward to seeing when this particular ship gets utilized in combat for this thing. I'm definitely looking forward to never having to... No, I'm looking forward to seeing what this thing can do in combat. I'm definitely very curious to see how the Star Citizen universe will fare with this, because... I know, right? You can't get over it either. I agree. And look, you didn't get it. Oh, God. As we enter into the center of the room, despite my gushing for the F7A, I can't lie that this is probably one of my favorite ships within the Anvil group. This is the Anvil Valkyrie, one of my favorite dropships in Star Citizen. This beautiful design of VTOL thrusters with side-mounted guns and... well, side-mounted guns both here and up here just illustrates what kind of role this ship is intended to be utilized in. And as we enter into the cargo bay, you can see... oh, God, the amount of memories I've had from this one. But yeah, so this particular ship is absolutely gorgeous. And as I said, one of my favorite vehicles, one of my favorite ships in the Anvil lineup. It's been a ship that I've dreamed of owning for a long time. I have owned it, and I shall do once again, this time in-game, because money. But still, this thing is really, really good, and I really like this ship. It's as you can tell, it's a dedicated transport ship, and it has been utilized by my, by numerous clans, and the amount of bloody time I've spent sat in one of those chairs shooting the ship with the Marine Corps of the BSI's 200th Marines. Yeah, I suffice it to say, this ship's has got some memories that I treasure in that regard. And the thing is, the design of this ship is actually quite clever, because on the ground floor, you have everything to do with the combat ground element. This particular hangar space has enough room for you to get 2 Ursa rovers, 2 Cyclones, a couple of Dragonflies along the piece, and then enough room for about 20 armed Marines, which is pretty cool. The other cool thing about this ship is... where is it? Oh, here it is. This little doohad. This thing actually opens up, and you can prevent anyone from getting run over unnecessarily from that. This does, of course, limit what you can get vehicles-wise in, but at the same time, that is a risk that I think I'm happy to mitigate in that regard. The other cool thing about this particular ship is the really cool... and again, this is the clever design of this ship. This is basically where all the crew would be located. So this would require a lot of... this particular crew is actually quite a lot. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and... oh no, this is the actual dedicated pilot thing. Yeah, so about 5 crew would be utilized in this. Well, 1 crew member would be downstairs with the Marines, so, they're a lost cause. But you have 1 person up here manning the top turret, and then you've got 2 crew members over here manning the remote control turrets, and then the pilot would be manning this really cool looking display. I like this ship. It's really cool, and you can get in. Well, I'd like to get in, but I don't think you can get in. Oh, you Star Citizen showroom ships. You make me laugh and then cry and then laugh again. But yes, as you can see, this vehicle has quite the nice field of view, and I won't lie, it is a very sexy looking ship. Again, one of the things that makes me love Anvil over stuff like Aegis. It works so well, it does what you need it to do, and it also looks pretty fucking sexy doing it, unlike a few other ship manufacturers I know. Wrong way, Mr. Jaeger. We move on to a bit of an older design ship, but Jesus Christ, does it look like it's been buffed recently. Jesus. So this is the Anvil Hurricane, a dedicated dual pilot ship is what I'm going to call it, because the main element of this ship is when you have you and a friend mounting the weapons. On the front, this looks like bloody size 4 repeaters. I'm going to have a look-see. Have they changed? Oh, they have. Okay. I got to get into this ship, because I've not been in this ship for a while, but I am extremely curious, because this thing has fucking massive guns at the front. Right, let me have a look-see. It does have Rhino repeaters. What the fuck? Okay. If that's the current loadout, that's actually kind of fucking terrifying. This actually then does become more of a thing. So, God, this takes me back, because I remember years ago when I was first starting doing the Invictus launch weeks and the IAEs, this thing would start with scatterguns, which a shotgun in space. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense, does it? No. So this particular thing has 2 fucking size 4 repeaters, because why the fuck not? And it has 4 size 3 laser repeaters on the top. Now, to be fair, I think the loadout could be slightly better. Now, I know it's, having just said that when there's 2 goddamn size 4 liner repeaters on the front, kind of seems a bit overkill, I'll be brutally honest with you. I would even argue that maybe they should turn it down to size 3s, because what the fuck is this thing doing with size 4s? Anyway, regardless, it just looks like one of those like saber-toothed cats which has gone through a bit too much genetic mutation. But anyway, in addition to having ridiculously powerful size 4 guns at the front and quad size 3s on the top, it also has a decent missile system as well. We've got 4 size 2 Ignite missiles, which kind of seem a little bit shit in comparison to the size 4 fucking mantle turrets. You could put 2 Revenants in there and it'd be terrifying. But to be fair, the turreted weapon as well, it used to be scary because you had the tarantula turret repeater things. Basically, these 4 weapons would be the autocannon tarantula repeaters. That would be devastating, and it was very much devastating during that time. But now I think the frontal-mounted weapons is in fact a little bit more terrifying. Supposedly, the we are due to receive some ships that have the ability to do slave turret on the slave turrets to the pilot in that regard. I don't know if we're going to get that for the Hurricane, but I think given the fact that there's not many, you do have ships, and I think there are some players who enjoy being the gunners in certain games, and especially if you're a new player to Star Citizen, being a gunner is fun and all. But I also feel like there should be some ships that should have the ability to swap between having players in that ship or having the ability to put ships with slave turrets on. But still, this thing is dangerous, and I've used it on a few occasions. It was alright. Honestly, it's my least favorite ship of Anvil. As much as I was talking about how Anvil's really awesome and all that jazz, there are some ships that are not quite fitting of my personal respect for that one. And while I won't lie, the concept of this thing having size 4 repeaters is a little bit terrifying. It's not so terrifying that I would be like, oh my god, this thing's amazing now. It's not. It still looks ugly. It still looks decent, but could be better. And the turret situation does make it a bit of a pain. So make of that what you will. Of course, we wouldn't be an Anvil event day without talking about this ship at least once. This is the latest in terms of humanitarian design. I guess humanitarian design. Yes, this ship is based in perfectly about humanity. This ship is... Fuck, let's start again. You motherfucker. It wouldn't be an Anvil day if we didn't get to talk about this beautiful ship. This demon of destruction. The F8 Lightning. This is currently the latest and greatest in terms of Star Citizen, of UEE and Anvil designs for heavy fighting. This ship is designed primarily to now deal with the Van Duel, and this thing has excelled in its role in dealing with the Van Duel. I cannot describe how much I fucking love this thing. I unfortunately missed the opportunity to get one of these things during the famous event where everyone could apparently get one and do a bunch of stuff, and I missed out because I was busy doing other things, like fucking life, which whoop-de-fucking-do, I've just had the chance to play on one of these things. But still, no, this thing is really awesome. And bearing in mind, this is the civilian model. So this isn't the combat edition, this is the civilian edition. Now, supposedly, this is one of the rewards for playing through Star Citizen's, well, playing through Squadron 42. I don't know if it's going to just be a civilian version of this that you get, or whether or not that you know, through working with your friends in the UEE military, you might be able to find a military version of this thing. But what I can tell you is that this fucker is literally the most dangerous of Anvil's weaponry. As much as the F7A Mark II is a lethal combination and gloriously sexy, this thing's the better version of that. And bearing in mind, all of the all the capabilities in combat of the F7A Mark II is what makes it just as good as the F7C variant. So what exactly is what's so special about this thing? Well, this thing has 2 size 3 tarantula gun turrets, 2 size 3 Panther repeaters, 2 size 2 Tarantula Mark II turrets, and if we go to the missiles, it has 8 Ignite size 2s. On this fucking frame, this thing has weapons incarnate. Oh. One can only imagine the sheer power of the F8A. Oh, we want an F7A. Well, I already have an F7A. I have what the F8A. Like, this thing is lethal, and I am very, very keen to try out the other version, because if that other version is anything we can hope for, oh my God in heaven, hallowed be thy name, it would be glorious. Though this thing is unfortunately not available for testing because these motherfuckers just love ruining our fun. But yes, the F8 Lightning, it is a beautiful design. It's what I've personally, in my opinion, this is what a heavy fighter should look like. It's chunky, it's wondrous. It basically says, I do not give the slightest fuck if you are a powerful advanced civilization. I want to kill you and do it gloriously, and that's what this thing is all about. So yeah, no, I am very keen on seeing more of the releases of these, and I'm hoping in the near future we get to see some pretty cool stuff. But regardless, I just love it. This is, in my opinion, this is the face of Anvil, without a doubt. As much as the Carrack is the universal face when it comes to transportation and logistics and cargo, this thing is the face of every angry beaver. No, this is the angry Wolverine that... the honey badger. Yeah, no, this is the angry honey badger, the Wolverine, whatever the fuck it's called, the little tiny bear thing that basically picks on lions. That's what this thing is, and I love it. So, we arrive at the ground floor. Unfortunately, once again, nearing the end of our day. But don't worry, because we are going to be seeing some good stuff nonetheless. This to me is a bit of a history trip, because this thing is not only a ground-based mining vessel. Yes, I know. Fucking hell. Sorry again. So, we arrive at the ground floor with a whole buttload of people chilling out here because, again, Anvil's popular. But we are witnessing the... Okay, just looking at me like I'm... What the fuck? Okay, anyway. So, yes, we are looking at the Anvil Ballista. Now, this particular vehicle is... In terms of... for me, it's a bit of a historical note, because, once again, this is something that... Well, when I was getting back into Star Citizen, or actually more accurately getting properly into Star Citizen all the way back in 2018, 2019, this particular vehicle was actually brand new. In fact, this was one of the first things I ever did in terms of an event with BSI way back when. And this particular ship has... Again, it's a little bit of a pedigree, a little bit of a historical footnote, because for me, this was one of the first sort of ground vehicles I ever saw in Star Citizen. I know about the Ursa rover and everything. I knew about the Ursa rover, but I'd never seen it. I actually saw that after seeing this thing. Now, what exactly is this thing? It's an anti-air it's an anti-air ground Vic. You've got size 7 missiles with a bunch of size 5s on the side, and you've got a couple of size 1 Gatling repeaters. It's got a crew of 2. the missile shooter would be at the back, and the driver would be in the front. In terms of a view, it's not too bad. Like, the driver gets some pretty decent view around. If we pop the power on, you can see. In terms of MFDs, it kind of passed the MFD test. You kind of have half of the other two sides, but it's not quite, I know it's not quite the same, but still, it's something at least. So, yeah, no, that is a pretty useful thing. But here's the other cool thing. So in addition to having the repeater, and in addition to having a pretty decent view out the front, which, to be fair, it's not great, the real view actually comes over here. The remote turrets, which, as you can see, gives a nice 360-degree traverse, which, if you are driving, I would say is far more important, but also has the ability to defend the vehicle should you come under infantry fire. It is not really a from the design of this ship, you can appreciate that this thing is not really meant for frontline service. This thing is designed to basically be tucked away, hidden in some airbase, outpost, or anything. It's basically... it's a dedicated anti-air ground Vic. If anything sees this thing and doesn't immediately get blown up by the missiles of this thing, the ballista dies. If anyone looks at this thing with a railgun, the ballista dies. If I look at this thing with a A1 bomber, the ballista dies. So no, this is a definite case of it dies or it kills. Speaking of dying or killing, we have the Centurion, which is basically the ballista only with Gatling lasers rather than missiles on the back. This thing has 4 size 4? I want to say 4. I want to say rhinos, but it could be even bigger. Let's have a look, see, on the gunner side of things. So as you can see, the gunner has access to some very... Yes, 4 size 4 Rhino repeaters, which, you know what, for size 4 weapons, that's a pretty fucking good weapon system as well. And unlike the size 1 laser repeaters, for some reason this thing gets a size 3 bloody attrition for the defending against enemy assault, which, again, I'm kind of intrigued as to how that works, but sure. At this point, I'm like, okay, fair enough. Again, this is basically just an anti-air vehicle with no emphasis on missiles, but instead dedicated shooty, enemy plane go boomy, which is fun. Though, to be honest with you, I probably would replace the energy weapons with ballistics, because I feel like ballistics is probably where it's at when it comes to things. We don't quite have a Sea-Wiz in Star Citizen, but we might as well try. Now, here's the design of the ballista, or at least I don't know what I want to call this, the ballista chassis, because the ballista was first, but this is actually one of the more unique designs to come out of Anvil when it comes to ground transport, the Spartan. The Spartan is a ground Vic which can transport up to 10 men and also a couple of crew members as well, technically speaking. You got the driver and everything, and a weapons rack for said driver, and also for the other thing as well. And what makes this particular vehicle so good... Can you not use the ladders? I don't think you can. I want to use the ladders. God damn it. They said they would make it viable to use the ladders in the future, and they lied. Blah. But no, the ship, this particular ship, or ground Vic, is designed as an infantry transport, getting Vic people in and out of the combat zone in relatively quick succession, which... for me, I kind of like. I think I'm looking at this vehicle and I need to see this more in action before I can honestly make a whole judgment on it. But when I first drove this thing, I had a lot of issues with this thing bottoming out. Like, there would be a lot of scenarios. In fact, you can kind of half see it over here, where you've got some rocks basically bottoming out the ground Vic before it can get access to any other location. So I don't quite know how effective this will be in the long run, but I'd like to see it I'd like to do some kind of combat missions with it, just to see whether or not it's a viable vehicle. Also, the awkward thing is that this thing is quite big, and there's not many ships in Star Citizen that could easily utilize this. I'd like to say that the Valkyrie could hold it, but I don't think it can. I think it's a bit too tall for the Valkyrie. But when we finally get ships that can actually take these vehicles, then we might finally see some real usage cases coming from them. But until then, I don't know. Sadly, we are approaching the end of Anvil Day, and we are just about ready to go into the holodeck So in 3, 2, 1, away we go. And the first ship we get to see is the Anvil Crucible. Now, the Anvil Crucible is a rather intriguing design. Basically, what this thing does is it's a dedicated repair ship platform. So what it does, which unfortunately, again, no fucking, no bloody scaffolding, so we can actually see above in, see, the high elements of the holographic display, guys. Come on. I've politely requested this many years now. Please, can we have some stairs so we can look up into this thing? But what I'll try and do is I'll try and jump so you can actually see what I mean if the game decides not to lag. But basically, what this area is meant to do is you park your damaged ship in this little bay over here. Oh, I think I'm about to crash. No, I survived. Thank the Emperor. But basically, what you do is you park your ship into here, and it... Oh, suddenly... frames have been improved. Okay, weird. So you park your ship, and the game crashes again. Joking. So you park your ship into the bay, and you, along with a couple of other drones, repair the ship and put it back into service. It's a pretty useful on-the-site repairs. Not too dissimilar from the Aegis Vulcan, but having that just level, however, having a bit more of a staying power, which means you could, in a sense, you could definitely have this set either above orbit over a planet, or you could actually probably set this down planet side and have a dedicated repair station. Either way, it's a pretty cool thing, and I own this one. I actually got the Tycoon pack recently, and yeah, I actually own it, which is kind of spooky when I realize it. But still, I'm very keen on seeing what the development of this thing, because I do like the concept of repairing. It does sound pretty freaking cool, especially when you think about all the potential money that you could make from it. And, oh, yes, this thing. This is the Anvil, I want to say Drake, the Anvil Legionnaire. This is the dedicated boarding vessel. It was announced I think, was it 1 or 2 years ago? I want to say 2 years ago. But the Anvil, the Legionnaire is basically designed to go towards a vessel that has been either neutralized or has decided to stop, and it allows allows this particular crew of people to go in over towards the vessel, politely request to enter, and if their request is denied, kick the door down FBI style and proceed to board into the ship. It's a really cool concept for obvious reasons, because anyone who's ever played Ready or Not, SWAT 4, or even Rainbow Six Siege would love this kind of ship encounter when it comes to clearing out enemy bandits, even trying to board maybe even a king ship. God, that would be incredible. But still, being able to be part of an experience like that would be pretty cool, and this ship will hopefully be able to give players that experience of boarding an enemy vessel and capturing it, rather than it just blowing up and falling to the planet side. And finally, we have a ship that I am not going to lie, I really like. Though I don't know if it's something that I could have, just because, well, it's kind of... the role it would inherit would be very difficult to... I don't know. We'll see how things go. But regardless, this is the Liberator. The Liberator is a dedicated platform which... it's a hangar ship / invasion barge style vessel. It has enough room for you to hop on both has basically 2 hangar spots or pads that smaller ships can land on. You've got the one at the top and you've got the one at the bottom. And in this little section here is a hangar bay door which opens out, and you can actually put stuff into it. As mentioned, this particular ship is designed for when you're doing naval invasions of a planet, or if you're colonizing that particular planet itself and you need an area to, transport materials, crew, and everything else down to the planet, or if you're wanting to have it as a mobile airbase, which will give you the ability to help defend your location while not being at risk of being too stationary a target. But no, the Liberator was announced a couple years ago as well, and I think it looks incredible for what it was worth, and the potential for what it could be going forward into interplanetary warfare. Now, agreed, we won't really know what's going to happen until it happens, but I would like to think that ships like the Liberator, the Crucible, and even to some smaller, well, probably not to a small degree, probably to a reasonably large degree, the Legionnaire will all factor in quite strongly as to how players will interact and deal with one another in terms of combat, logistics, as well as PvE and friendly elements as well. But sadly, that is it for us for today. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. If you have enjoyed, do let me know by hitting the like button, commentating down below, and of course subscribing to the channel. So we have got more to do with this. If I'm not mistaken, we will be going over to Drake Interplanetary? I know, scary. They will be having their Drake Defense Con coming up, which... Now that we've got news on a new boy coming to the town, which I'm not going to lie, the name of it sounds wonderful. The concept of it sounds even better. And what it can do with what shit you can bring with you, ooh! I'm not going to lie. I'm looking very much forward to seeing what Drake Interplanetary can bring to the table. But regardless of that, if you do like this, let me know in the comment section down below, clicking on the like button, and of course subscribing to the channel. And I'll hope to see you all in the next one. This is Mr. Jaeger signing out. I will catch you guys over by Drake Interplanetary for the remainder of this event. I will see you then. Hello. The people you get at these events.